Reflection of your childhood in this story?
I think there is, I think there is. And it's one of those things where I didn't realize that when I began the film because I didn't write the script, the screenplay. The Lion King is everyone's childhood. And if you go deeper in that, it's almost like James Earl Jones is everyone's father.
The biggest star of India, Shah Rukh Khan, has
No,
dubbed voice of Mufasa. Have you
I
heard
do
about
know. Yeah, of course, I do know. And I believe his son is also
yeah,
in the
both the sons? Welcome to our show, Shukla Paksh, on amarujala.com, the number one Hindi news portal in India. And we congratulate you on this movie, Mufasa. And the
Thank you.
first question is about your remembrance of John Early Jones, who was the
Mhm,
original voice of Mufasa. How do
mhm.
you see him as a director?
Oh, I mean, he's amazing. I was talking to someone about this film earlier, and they were saying, The Lion King is everyone's childhood. And
Yeah.
if you go deeper in that, it's almost like James Earl Jones is everyone's father. And I actually didn't grow up with a father figure. And so characters like Mufasa, they were sort of like a stand-in. And so when you make a movie that's about how that character came into his greatness, how he learned all those lessons, the energy of him, the energy of James Earl Jones, it just was always present in the film. And when he passed, I just knew we had to honor him, and that was the way we decided to do it.
That's so sweet of you. That's so sweet of everyone, actually. And you talked about the childhood, and what we see in Mufasa, it's basically a trauma of a child who
Mhm,
has separated from his parents.
mhm.
And is there any reflection of your childhood in this story?
I think there is, I think there is. And it's one of those things where I didn't realize that when I began the film because I didn't write the script, the
Correct.
screenplay. Once I came on, I began working with the screenwriter, Jeff Nathanson, and maybe I felt some of those things. I just knew the movie felt personal. That's why I agreed to make the film. And then as you go through the process, you start to realize how, those personal connections sort of line up. I will say my mother passed away while I was making this film,
So,
which was thank you very much, which was it was another layer of me having this overlapping experience with the characters in this movie. I mean, The Lion King has always been about children grieving to some degree the loss of a parent. And so maybe in that way, it brought me closer to these characters.
the emotional question that you just mentioned, it made me also emotional. So
Yeah.
the emotions are very universal in this story. If we see the emotions, they're everywhere. The father, the brotherhood that you shown. I think if
Mhm,
I connect with the Moonlight, your last movie, which won the Oscar, the
mhm.
bromance is a certain thing which reflects everywhere in the world.
Yeah, this is something that I think is just and not unique because there are other films that do this, but it's so potent in The Lion King. And what I loved about this film is there are no real kings in this movie. They're just human beings. They're brothers, they're mothers, they're sons, they're fathers, and they're trying to figure out how to navigate the world. And what I love is you use this word universal. It's because very few people have to navigate the world entirely alone. Even Mufasa, who gets separated from his family, he builds a new family. I thought there was something really powerful and beautiful in that. And yes, something very emotional. It's why I thought you mentioned Moonlight. There were so many similarities between the journey that character goes through and the journey this character goes through. And I thought if we did our jobs right, we could create something that was just as emotional as that film was.
And one last question: what I watch when I watch your movies, there is a long shots, a particular long shots you take
Yeah.
to establish the emotions. You
Yeah.
take you so much of time. Was there any kind of reference from Disney team or something like that to not do or to just emphasize on that?
No, no. The thing with animation is the longer a shot is, the more difficult it is to sort of pull off, because every time you reveal new information in the frame, that has to be drawn by someone. And you typically want the same people drawing the entirety of a shot. So that was the only technical thing about working in that way. But I loved it. The animators were up to the challenge, and the studio was as well. I said to them when I first booked the movie, this is the way we're going to tell this story. It's how we always tell our stories. And they were game. They said that was why they wanted us. They wanted the
But
people who
but
were able.
very small questions. Have you been
Yes.
to India ever?
I have not. I have never been. No, I have never
Because
been.
the biggest star of India, Shah Rukh Khan, has
No,
dubbed voice of Mufasa. Have you
I
heard
do
about
know. Yeah, of course, I do know, and I believe his son is also
Yes,
in the
both the sons, Ayan
exactly.
and Abram, both the sons, they are dubbing the movie.
Hey, you know what? If it brings, I spoke to the director of that version of the film in
Yeah.
that region,
Hmm.
and we talked purely about character, and all these dynamics between the different characters, and knowing that those gentlemen, are going to play, this family as a family. I think it's amazing. I can't wait to see or hear that version of the film.
Thank you so much. Any particular three or you want to say to the Indian audience? Any
No,
plans
just
for
that.
India?
Yeah, just that I've always felt support from my work in that region of the world, and I'm so happy to see all the enthusiasm for this film in that region of the world. And the one thing I'll say is, this movie at the end of the day, it's about characters and about families, which I think are things that are really, really important, in that region and that culture. And one of the things I love about this story is this idea of nature versus nurture, learning from your ancestors, learning from your community, and really creating your own destiny. And I hope that those themes resonate with this audience.
Thank you so much, Barry. Thank you and all the best for your movie. We hope to see more animation movies from you. I hope so.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate